I, the only son of the world's richest man, hid my identity to pursue a pure love relationship with a female CEO. Just as I was about to tell her who I really was, I overheard her group of friends, right in front of me, speaking in French. "You're going home for an arranged marriage soon. What about this little boyfriend of yours? Are you gonna break up with him?" Yi Shuang gently swirled the wine in her glass. "No, I'm not. I like him a lot, but his family is too poor to be presentable. The arranged marriage is just for my family, but he's my true love. I'll just keep him a secret and support him on the side." They talked so brazenly because they thought I, with my humble background, wouldn't understand French. I never told them that I did. It turned out that while she was making vows of eternal love to me, she had already accepted her family's arranged marriage. I excused myself to the restroom, and once outside, I immediately called my parents. "Mom, Dad, I've made up my mind. I'm willing to come back and inherit the family business." My parents were overjoyed to hear their son finally agree. Then, remembering the girlfriend I had while I was in disguise, my mother couldn't help but ask, "Is your girlfriend coming back with you?" "No, I plan to break up with her," I replied, my voice involuntarily dropping. "I'll wrap things up here in a week." After a brief conversation, I hung up and returned to the private room. The noisy chatter in the room paused for a moment as I walked in, but I pretended not to notice. I walked straight to Ye Shuang and sat down. She turned her attention from the conversation and looked at me, sitting quietly beside her. "Xingye, what took you so long on the phone?" Before I could answer, another voice interrupted. There wasn't a single French person in the room, yet she said in French, "Shuang, when are you and Jiang Yubai getting married?" My grip on my glass tightened. Yi Shuang, however, remained nonchalant. She glanced at me and then replied in French, "The date is set by my family, in half a month." Everyone in the room looked at me in unison. One of her friends, her voice filled with curiosity, asked, "If you're marrying Jiang Yubai, what will happen to Jiu Xingye?" Yi Shuang shook her head, took a small sip of wine, and said, "The marriage is just for my family. The only person I love is Ji Yu Xing." At her words, the room erupted in laughter. The sound of their joking and teasing filled the air. "Shuang, what are you doing with this pure love thing? The social difference is so huge, and you're actually taking him seriously?" She turned to look at me, her eyes filled with an affection so thick it seemed to melt. Without saying a word, she perfectly answered their question. Seeing her infatuated expression, someone exclaimed, "It looks like she's really in love. But seriously, can he really not understand French?" The person had just asked on a whim, but others who heard her laughed. "Ji Yuxing's family is poor. How could he afford to learn a foreign language? Don't worry, he definitely doesn't understand." The sound of their mockery echoed in my ears. No one noticed my breathing becoming slightly rapid, my knuckles turning white as I clenched the glass. I hadn't told them that I understood French. After all, I wasn't a poor boy with no money. I was the only son of the world's richest man. We had been dating for 5 years, and Ye Shuang had always been very good to me, but she never introduced me to her parents. At first I thought it was because she was worried about our social differences. The Yi family was a famous and powerful family in Haicheng, so I had long planned to reveal my true identity to her. I had only concealed my identity because I didn't want to live forever under my parents' protective wing. But as fate would have it, 3 days ago I found a red wedding invitation in her study. The groom was the young master of the Jiang family, and the bride was Ye Shuang. It turned out that while she was making solemn vows to me, she had already accepted an arranged marriage. While she was calling me her husband, she was busy preparing to marry a man who was her social equal and approved by her family. At that moment, I felt there was no need to say anything more. From then on, she would get married, and I would inherit the family business. We would both have a bright future. After a few rounds of drinks, everyone was in high spirits. As it was getting late, the party broke up. I followed everyone out of the room. I had only walked a few steps when I heard an unfamiliar voice behind me. "Young Master Ji Yu." I stopped and turned around. It was a business partner who'd been trying to collaborate with my father. I sighed internally, not wanting to reveal my identity. I was trying to figure out how to get away with it when one of Ye Shuang's friends, who was following her, looked me up and down and scoffed. "Young Master Ji Yu? What a joke! Do the clothes on his body even add up to 300 yuan? How could he be a young master?" Her words sparked a new round of laughter. They weren't speaking French this time. I heard their mockery clearly, but my face remained expressionless. Ye Shuang, however, was angry. She shot a cold, warning look at the woman, who quickly quieted down. The others also gradually stopped their laughter and teasing after receiving the same warning look. The man didn't follow us. I walked behind Ye Wanchuang, and we returned home in silence. When we got to her place, she took off her shoes and suddenly said, "I won't bring you to these kinds of parties anymore." My expression was still calm. Even though I was being subtly pushed out of her social circle, I didn't show any change. I just asked, "Do you think I'm embarrassing you?" She laughed briefly, tried to hug me, but I dodged her. She could only sigh and explain, "What are you thinking? I just don't want you to feel wronged. That our social status is different. We're always going to face this kind of situation. Hasn't your family pressured you into an arranged marriage?" I looked at her, trying to see a hint of guilt on her face. But even after hearing the words, arranged marriage, Ye Wanchuang's expression only stiffened for a moment before she quickly reverted to her usual demeanor. "Xinghe, all you need to know is that you're the one I love. As for the other issues, I'll figure out a way to solve them." If I hadn't been paying close attention, I wouldn't have noticed anything was wrong. After saying that, Ye Wanchuang went to the bathroom to wash up. Watching her back as she left, I didn't say a word, but a thought couldn't help but form in my mind. Your so-called solution is to listen to your family and get married, but keep me on the side? From the nightstand not far away, I heard a message notification. It was Ye Wanchuang's phone. She had never hidden her password from me, so I unlocked it easily and clicked into the message. It was from Jiang Yubai. "Wanchuang, we're meeting our parents tomorrow. If you don't stay at my place tonight, will they find out our marriage is fake? I know you love your boyfriend, but please, at least for these few days, give me some dignity, okay?" The message was humble, but I saw through his intentions. He started with the excuse of their parents to get her to stay with him. What next? He would just continue using the same excuse, getting more and more demanding step by step, but it didn't matter to me anymore. I had already decided to leave. Thinking this, I set the message back to unread and put the phone back. Not long after, Ye Wanchuang came out from the bathroom, grabbed her phone, and glanced at it. The next second, she looked at me apologetically. "Xinghe, something urgent came up at the company. I have to go. I won't be back tonight. You get some rest." She left in a hurry, not having time to pay attention to my reaction. She also didn't notice that this time I didn't complain or beg her to spend more time with me, as I used to do. I simply watched her back as she walked further and further away. Ding dong. Not long after Ye Wanchuang left, my phone also received a message. All it takes is one word from me, and Wanchuang will come find me anyway. We're meeting our parents tomorrow. Once we're really married, what will you be? A secret lover? Jiang Yubai's words were harsh, but what hurt me more was that this weapon used to hurt me, was handed to him by the girlfriend I had once thought I would spend my life with. Wanchuang probably didn't know that even if I hadn't found that invitation, her marriage to someone else wouldn't have been a secret for long. The day after I found the invitation, Jiang Yubai added me as a friend. These past few days, he had been sending me all sorts of taunting pictures. Photos of Ye Wanchuang trying on wedding dresses with him, pictures of them picking out a diamond ring, and photos of them looking at wedding venues. One picture after another, they completely destroyed all the love I had for Ye Wanchuang. Ye Wanchuang didn't come back that night. I didn't care at all. The next morning, I went straight to the company and resigned. I finished all the procedures that very day. During my lunch break, I had a meal with some colleagues downstairs. After I told them I had resigned, a close colleague couldn't help but joke. I always see videos about people suddenly resigning to go back and inherit their family business. "Xinghe, you resigned so decisively. Are you also going back to inherit your family business?" He was just joking, but I nodded gently. "Yeah, I am." Everyone froze for a second before bursting into laughter, taking it as a joke and not taking it seriously. I just smiled and didn't explain further. After lunch, I packed up all my belongings into a box and took it straight home. Ye Wanchuang was home when I returned. She saw me carrying the box and was a little puzzled. "Did you quit your job?" I nodded, carrying the box toward the bedroom. Her brows furrowed tightly. "Didn't you like this job very much? Why did you suddenly resign?" I stopped and looked at her with a smile. "Because I have a job I want to do even more now." Hearing this, Ye Wanchuang didn't ask further. She just said, "If you're too tired from work, just come back. It hurts my heart to see you working so hard every day. Xinghe, you need to know that I can support you." I shook my head and said, word by word, "I'm not anyone's accessory." Ye Wanchuang was taken aback. How could you be an accessory? I didn't want to hear any more and interrupted her. Why are you home so early today? Didn't you go to the company? I've been so busy with work lately that I haven't had time to spend with you. Today I made time for you, she said, her brow relaxing. She was once again the obedient girlfriend I knew. What do you want to do? Go to a Western restaurant? Or watch a movie? I'll do whatever you want today. In the past, I would have been incredibly touched by these words. After all, I knew she was the heiress of the Yeshi group and had a lot of work to handle every day. The fact that she was willing to make time for me would have proven that I held a big place in her heart. But now, as I looked at her, I couldn't help but wonder, was she really too busy with work? Or was she too busy with wedding preparations? How could she be preparing for a wedding with another man while also trying to coax me into believing that I was the only one she loved? In the end, I didn't expose her lies. After all, there were only a few more days left. Soon, I would naturally disappear from her life without a trace. I shook my head, rejecting her suggestions. After some thought, I said, how about you help me do a big cleanup? A lot of things in the villa are old and useless. Yi Wanshuang agreed and helped me clean for a long time. But in the end, she realized that everything I had sorted out were couple items we had bought together. From water cups to accessories, from clothes to slippers, I threw them all into the trash without hesitation. Her smile grew more and more stiff as I threw away more and more of the couple items. When the last item was thrown into the trash can, the panic in her heart was finally exposed. Xinghe, did you find out something? Find out what? Are you hiding something from me? I raised an eyebrow, looking at Yi Wanshuang, and instead of answering her question, I asked my own. She looked away, not daring to meet my eyes. After a moment of silence, she still didn't answer directly. Instead, she grabbed my hand and said, Xinghe, no matter what happens, you just need to remember that I love you. I curled my lips and didn't say anything more. After the big cleanup, Yi Wanshuang still insisted on taking me out on a date. Fearing she might notice something was wrong, I didn't refuse. She took me to dinner and a movie, and the car finally stopped at an auction house. Just as we were about to enter, we saw a man in a sophisticated suit walking towards us. Her expression flickered with a moment of unnaturalness, which I immediately caught. What's wrong? Did you run into someone you know? As soon as my words fell, the man stopped in front of us and greeted us with a smile. Yi Wanshuang's introduction was quick and precise. This is the son of the Jiang family, Yang Yubai. She then paused before introducing me. This is my boyfriend, Jiu Xinghe. Hearing her starkly different introductions, the smile on Jiang Yubai's face stiffened. A moment later, he forced a smile and extended his hand to me. I've heard that Wanshuang's boyfriend is very handsome. It's true what they say. As he spoke, the group of friends who had mocked me in French the day before also came over. In a direction I couldn't see, they winked at Yi Wanshuang. It was then that I knew this encounter wasn't a coincidence. They had deliberately brought Jiang Yubai here. My heart was filled with anger. But in this situation, if I suddenly lost my temper, it would only be more difficult to explain. Helpless, I had to suppress all my rage. At the auction, Jiang Yubai sat next to Yi Wanshuang. Unlike his taunting messages, in person he was generous and knowledgeable. He started a conversation with Yi Wanshuang about porcelain, as he knew she was interested in it. Yi Wanshuang, who had been distant at first, gradually leaned closer to him. It wasn't until I coughed that Yi Wanshuang remembered that she had left me on the side. She quickly said to me in a gentle voice, Are you bored, Xinghe? I know you're not interested in these things. If you see anything you like, you can just bid on it. Before I could say anything, the whispered voices of her friends behind me came again. Even though they deliberately kept their voices low, I could hear them clearly since we were only one row apart. Wanshuang is really trying to save face for him. Even if he was interested, what could he do? He doesn't know anything. He probably doesn't even know how to hold up a bidding paddle. Haha, this is a high society auction. It's definitely his first time here. As they spoke, they glanced at me dismissively. It was more than just whispering. It felt like they were deliberately saying it for me to hear. I didn't bother to argue. I knew that the next time we met, they would have to stand in front of me respectfully and call me Young Master Ji. As the last item was sold, the next one was brought up. It was a jade sculpture of a pine and a crane, symbolizing longevity. The jade was of superior quality. And most importantly, the host introduced it as a masterpiece by Master Junsheng, the father of jade carving. Upon hearing this introduction, Zhang Yubai immediately became excited. He raised his bidding paddle. Wan Shuang, this is a very valuable collector's item. The day after tomorrow is Grandma Ye's birthday. This would be a perfect gift for her. As soon as I heard the name, Master Jun Cheng, I subconsciously looked up at the item on the stage. I only needed a quick glance before I looked away. My voice was calm and steady, like a splash of cold water over Zhang Yubai's head. This one is fake. Zhang Yubai looked at me in disbelief. He was about to ask what a bumpkin like me could possibly know. But seeing Ye Wanshuang beside him, he swallowed his anger and chuckled. How can you tell, Mr. Ji Yu? Because the real one was given by young Master Ji Yu, the son of the world's richest man, to his grandmother. There's only one in the world, and it's with his family. The one on that stage must be fake. I was trying to be helpful, but as soon as I said those words, Zhang Yubai burst out laughing. Even Ye Wanshuang's friends behind him started to mock me openly. If you don't know, don't pretend you do. It's embarrassing. Exactly. Given away by the son of the richest man? Did you witness it yourself? Don't tell me you're so poor that you think you can be related to the Ji Yu family's young master. Their laughter grew louder and louder. It was only when Ye Wanshuang's face turned cold that she stopped their taunts. She looked at me, holding my hand. Xinghe, I know you've been reading some books on appreciation recently, but you can't learn it all from books. Yubai has been going to auctions since he was a child, and is very knowledgeable about jade carving. He knows more than you do. She didn't say anything overly offensive, but her words clearly implied that I was spouting nonsense. I just laughed to myself and didn't say anything more. In the end, Jiang Yubai spent a whopping 100 million yuan to buy the jade carving. As I watched him swipe his card, I smiled to myself. I wondered what Elder Madame Yi would think when she found out that he had spent 100 million yuan on a fake jade carving for her. I didn't stop him or say anything more. I got up and went to the restroom. Just as I finished washing my hands, a familiar voice came from behind me. Ji Yu Xinghe, I thought I made myself clear. I can't believe you're still shamelessly sticking around. Do you want to be a homewrecker that badly? His voice was sharp and grating, completely different from the sophisticated and polite demeanor he had a moment ago. I looked up calmly and turned to face him. Mr. Zhang, I hope you understand that she and I have been together for 5 years. The word homewrecker certainly doesn't apply to me. I was about to walk past him, but he wasn't done yet. He sneered and continued to mock me. Right, you've been together for 5 years, and she still won't marry you. Have you ever wondered why? I'm the heir of the Zhang family, and she's the heiress of the Yeshi group. We're a perfect match. But what about you? You have a gambling father and a sick mother. Your family is a mess. You have nothing. What makes you think you're worthy of her? My footsteps paused. My family background was a lie I had made up. But I never imagined Ye Wanshuang would tell Zhang Yubai everything. I couldn't help but let out a self-deprecating laugh. If my family were really like that, then wasn't he the boyfriend she claimed to love, just handing another man a second weapon to hurt me? You're right, I'm not worthy. A sharp pain shot through my heart. I looked back at Zhang Yubai, and the anger I had suppressed vanished. You two are a perfect match. I wish you all the best. With that, I walked away. I hadn't gone far when my phone rang. It was my mother. Xinghe, come back quickly. Everyone in the family is waiting for you and has a bunch of gifts ready. Your father and I bought you a castle abroad. Your aunt bought you a diamond watch that the King of England once wore. Your uncle also prepared a garage full of luxury cars for you. As my parents excitedly listed all the gifts my family had prepared for my return, I was speechless. Mom, I'm going back to inherit the family business, not to squander our fortune. Just as I finished speaking, a familiar voice came from behind me. Inherit the family business? What's that about? My body froze, and I instinctively hung up the phone. I couldn't help but sigh. Why did they all love standing behind people and suddenly speaking? I turned around and saw Ye Wanshuang's displeased expression. After a moment, I explained, It's nothing. A former colleague asked me what I was going to do after resigning, so I joked that I was going home to inherit the family business. Ye Wanshuang frowned. She knew I wasn't a person who joked like that. She felt something was off. But before she could speak, I had already walked a few steps away. Aren't you coming? There are still a few jewelry items left to be shown. Hearing this, Ye Wanshuang thought I wanted to buy some jewelry. She nodded and followed me. When we returned to the auction hall, she bid high on several jewelry pieces and had them wrapped and sent to me. I looked at the boxes in my hands and said softly, "I don't need these things." She smiled and hugged me. "You'll get used to it. Don't worry about wasting money. I'll buy you gifts forever." I pursed my lips, but in the end I didn't say the rest of what I was thinking. I don't need these items that are only worth millions. My jewelry collection is worth hundreds of millions. The auction ended, and people began to leave. Ye Wanshuang and I didn't stay long. Everyone had driven themselves, and we were about to head home when Zhang Yubai tapped on the passenger side window. The window rolled down, and he looked completely different from the sharp-tongued man in the restroom. "Wanshuang, my car broke down. Can you give me a ride home?" Yi Wanshuang frowned, about to refuse, but he spoke again. "Your aunt and uncle said to take care of me. You didn't forget, did you?" Yi Wanshuang's expression changed slightly, and she finally agreed. Seeing her nod, his smile grew, and he looked at me, pressing his advantage. "But I get carsick and can't sit in the back. What should I do?" Yi Wanshuang looked at me, but before she could say anything, I had already opened the car door and moved to the back seat. My movements were fluid and seamless. She didn't have time to react, and I was already settled in the back. Her words were stuck in her throat. She looked like she wanted to say that it was just a seat, and I didn't need to be so particular. But when her eyes met mine in the rearview mirror, I closed them as if I wanted to rest. At that moment, Jiang Yubai also got into the car. The door closed. He saw me in the back with my eyes closed, and a smug smile formed on his face. "Jiyu Xinga, what if she still loves you? What I want will still end up in my hands. Winning her heart is only a matter of time." Thinking this, Jiang Yubai's mood instantly improved. He looked at Ye Wanshuang with a tender gaze. "Is Mr. Jiyu tired? Let him rest for a while." Perhaps sensing my strangeness, Ye Wanshuang didn't talk much with Jiang Yubai. She nodded and silently started the car. I didn't know when I actually fell asleep, but when I woke up, the car was already parked in the garage of the Ye family villa. Jiang Yubai was long gone. Yi Wanshuang touched my face. "Are you awake? You were sleeping so soundly, I didn't have the heart to wake you up." My mind was still a little fuzzy. I nodded, opened the car door, and got out. I didn't wait for her and walked straight toward the front door. When Ye Wanshuang got out of the car, I was already at the entrance. She caught up in a few steps and blocked me. "Are you angry?" "Jiang Yubai is just the son of a family friend. Don't worry about it." I asked her a question, but Ye Wanshuang thought I was still angry. She reached out and took my hand. "Really, he's just the son of a family friend. My love is only for you, my dear, you know that." With that, she leaned in to kiss me, but I pushed her away. She looked surprised. I went inside and locked the door, cutting off any chance for her to enter. The next morning, as I was eating breakfast with Ye Wanshuang, my phone suddenly rang. It was the alarm I had set a while ago, with the note, "Meet the parents." Ye Wanshuang also saw the note. I had planned to tell her who I was, so I had asked her to meet my parents, and she had agreed. Our eyes met. I was wondering how to cancel the meeting, when her phone rang too. It was Jiang Yubai. I don't know what he said, but her expression changed slightly. She came over to me with an apologetic look and canceled our meeting. "Jinghe, something urgent came up. How about we go see your parents another time?" She probably thought I would get upset, but I just nodded calmly. "That's good. I have things to do today too." Not long after Ye Wanshuang left, I went out as well. I went shopping and bought gifts for each of the friends I was meeting. When we met, they opened their gifts and were surprised to see a brand new luxury item in each box. "Shinge, where did you get so many authentic items? They look so real." "They are all real." Seeing their delighted faces, I couldn't help but laugh. After explaining, and seeing that they still didn't believe me, I revealed my true identity. Actually, what I told you before about my father being a gambler and my mother being sick was a lie. My real identity is the son of the world's richest man. The reason I'm saying goodbye to you is because I'm going back to inherit the family business. My friends were first stunned, then shocked, and then overjoyed. They screamed that a young master had been among them all this time. Their shouts almost tore the roof off the restaurant. After they calmed down, one of them remembered Ye Wanshuang and quickly asked, "But what about Ye Wanshuang? Does she know who you really are?" When they mentioned her name, the smile on my face faded. "She's going to marry someone else." My friends were incredulous. "No way! We thought she was a rare, hopeless romantic among the rich." Right. 3 years ago, you said you liked night-blooming Sirius, And she spent a fortune buying everyone in the world just to make you smile. 2 years ago, you got the flu, and she canceled a 100 million yuan deal to fly back from abroad and take care of you personally, staying up all night. And a year ago, you were in a car accident. A truck lost control and was heading straight for you. She turned the car to protect you. You were completely unharmed, but she broke 3 ribs and was in the hospital for 3 months, almost not waking up. And now she's getting married. How can the groom not be you? As my friends recounted those past events, I was filled with emotion. At that time, Ye Wanchuang really did love me, loving me so much that she was willing to risk her life. But now, I shook my head and smiled softly. She did love me, but her family felt I wasn't worthy. I hadn't even had the chance to reveal my identity, and she had already agreed to the marriage. It sounds like she was planning to make me her lover after she got married. My friends instantly blew up. Her lover? A lover for the son of the world's richest man? The Yi family must be crazy. Just you wait. They'll have a taste of their own medicine when they come begging. If she finds out you've secretly left her and she learns your true identity, she'll go insane. Just then, Ye Wanchuang and Zhang Yubai walked in from outside. They heard what my friends were saying and frowned. What? True identity? Seeing them enter together, one of my friends was about to speak, but I stopped him. I looked at the two of them coolly. What are you two doing here at my question? Ye Wanchuang's eyes darted around nervously. Our 2 families have a collaboration, so we arranged to discuss it here. I laughed at her answer. Of course, I knew about their collaboration, a marriage alliance, because they were there for business. Ye Wanchuang and Zhang Yubai didn't sit with us. They sat at their own table nearby, close enough for me to see their intimate interactions. For example, she cut his steak for him. He shared his favorite food with her. She handed him a napkin. He wiped the corner of her mouth for her. They went back and forth, and my friends were fuming, but my face remained calm. After the meal, our group dispersed. Ye Wanchuang offered to give me and Jiang Yubai a ride home. Perhaps she learned from our last ride together. This time, she chose to use her family's extended Rolls-Royce with a driver. Naturally, there was no fight for the front passenger seat. The car drove smoothly toward Jiang Yubai's house. A smooth ride. No one expected an accident to happen at that moment. A runaway truck came speeding from another direction. The driver instinctively swerved hard, but with a loud bang, the 2 cars still collided. As the car window shattered, I was thrown to the other side by the impact. I caught a glimpse of Ye Wanchuang protecting Jiang Yubai. She not only shielded him from any harm, but also soothed his nerves. My consciousness began to fade. I suddenly remembered the car accident my friends had mentioned. It was our 4th year together. My love for her was at its peak. It was also an intersection, and a fast-moving truck was heading straight for us. My side of the car was in the truck's path. In the nick of time, I realized I couldn't avoid the truck, so I sharply turned the wheel to take the full force of the collision. The front of the car crumpled, and I was pinned in the driver's seat. Firefighters and doctors worked together for a long time before they could get me out of the car. I almost died that day. But even then, the first thing she said when she was out of danger and woke up was to ask about me. Now, a similar car accident, but the person she instinctively protected was no longer me. The rear of the Rolls-Royce was mangled beyond recognition. After everyone got out of the car, Ye Wanchuang, who had been comforting Zhang Yubai, finally saw me, silently holding my bleeding forehead. Luckily, my injury wasn't serious. After I was bandaged at the hospital, there were no other issues. But because it was a head injury, the doctor advised me to stay for a 2-day observation. Ye Wanchuang looked at the bandage on my head, her eyes filled with guilt. Xinghe, I'm sorry. I was just thinking that I have a collaboration with Zhang Yubai in a couple of weeks and we'll have to appear together. I couldn't let his face get hurt, so I protected him. You can hit me or scold me. I'll take it. Just don't ignore me, please. Her apology was incredibly sincere, and her reasoning seemed logical too. If I hadn't thought about their wedding happening in less than half a month, I lowered my eyes and didn't say a word. I didn't say I wouldn't forgive her, but I didn't say I would either. My expression was impassive the whole time. Ye Wanchuang's apologies didn't stop. She kept saying sorry. Then suddenly, her eyes lit up, as if she had an idea. Your birthday is in a few days. How about I give you your gift early? I'll buy you anything you want for your birthday. I finally looked up at her, my expression calm. Then buy me a plane ticket. In 3 days, I'm going to Hucheng. Hucheng? What for? He asked, a bit surprised, but quickly answered his own question. Do you want to go on a trip? I didn't explain. I just nodded. Ye Shuang didn't ask any more questions. Right in front of me, he took out his phone and bought a ticket to Hucheng. After she was done, she said, I have things to do lately, so I can't go with you. You go on ahead and have fun. When I'm free, I'll go with you. A plane ticket is too small, a birthday gift. I'll give you a big surprise later. I shook my head and smiled softly. It's not small. Not at all. After all, this plane ticket is my ticket home. Ye Shuang, thank you for the gift. You've personally sent me home. During my 2 days in the hospital, Ye Shuang was as caring and attentive as he was when we first started dating. But this didn't last long. His attention ended the day I was discharged. He left first, saying he had something to do at the company, and had the driver take me home. Right after, I received a taunting text from Jiang Yubai. I'm sorry, Wan Shuang and I are getting married. She's going to my family's house for dinner today, so she probably doesn't have time to pick you up from the hospital. I didn't care about the message. I just went home quietly and started to pack my bags. The day I left, I woke up very early. 7 hours before my flight, I carried my suitcases out the door, only to run into Ye Shuang returning home. Seeing a pile of suitcases at the entrance of the villa, his expression panicked, and a sense of unease suddenly rose in his heart. What's this? Didn't you say you were just going to Hucheng for fun? You bought me the ticket, remember? My expression was nonchalant, as if I really were just going on a trip. But my explanation didn't convince him. You're only going for a day or two, right? Do you need to bring so many suitcases? I smiled slightly. I'm bringing extra clothes so I can take more pictures. But I had never been so fond of taking pictures, and I had never brought so much luggage on any of our previous trips. His unease spread from his heart to his entire body. She wanted to open my suitcases and check if what I said was true. Just as she was about to move, her phone rang. It was Jiang Yubai. She answered the call, and I don't know what the person on the other end said, but Ye Shuang was silent for a moment before leaving. Before she left, she didn't forget to remind me, Xing, don't play for too long. Send me your return flight information when you have it, and I'll pick you up. I didn't answer because I knew I wasn't coming back. This meeting was our final goodbye. 5 hours before my flight, I changed the password to the front door from my birthday to Jiang Yubai's. Then, I put a sticky note on the door. Since this will be Mr. Jiang's home from now on, it's better to set the password to his birthday. 3 hours before my flight, I found all the photos of Ye Shuang and me in the villa. I threw them all into a fire basin, one by one. Our photos of us hugging and kissing under the fireworks. Her confessing her love to me under the stars. Her blocking the car that almost killed me. The photos of our trips through the seasons. Our memories were burning away bit by bit, and our relationship was completely over. 2 hours before my flight, my phone rang. I opened it and saw a video sent by Jiang Yubai. The video seemed to be at a family gathering. Ye Shuang's friends, Jiang Yubai's friends, and elders from both families were there. Many people were cheering them on. Kiss! Kiss! I say, Shuang, you're getting married in a few days. What's there to be shy about? Amidst the shouts, Jiang Yubai, his cheeks flushed, closed his eyes and leaned in. The cheers grew louder, urging Ye Shuang to kiss him. Ye Shuang just stared at him and then closed his eyes. The video played over and over. When it was on its 7th loop, a message from Jiang Yubai came. Ji Yu Xing, did you see that? I am the son-in-law recognized by everyone in the Yi family. Your family is so poor, how could they possibly approve of you? With a family background like yours, you're better off marrying a beggar. What if Wan Shuang loves you? I am slowly breaking down his defenses. First, he agreed to meet my parents, then we moved in together, and now he even kissed me. How long do you think it will be before we're in bed? I didn't reply to his message. I just quietly printed out all the provocative messages he had sent me over the past few days. I organized them into a stack and placed them on the empty living room table. 1 hour before my flight, I wrote the last message on the stack of papers. Ye Shuang, happy wedding, we are over. Then I dragged my suitcases out of the villa and hailed a taxi, speeding toward the airport. From this moment on, I am the son of the world's richest man again, and Ye Shuang has nothing to do with me. At Hucheng Airport, as I walked out with my suitcase, a Bugatti that was obviously worth a fortune was waiting outside. When the man waiting by the car saw me, he immediately opened the car door. Young master, please get in. My luggage was put in the car. As I got in, I spoke to the man in the driver's seat. Uncle Lai, why are you the one picking me up? Where's the family driver? Uncle Lai chuckled, the subtle wrinkles at the corners of his eyes making him look even more approachable. He started the car and slowly merged into traffic. The young master hasn't been home for so many years. When I heard you were coming back today, I volunteered for the job. It seems Uncle Lai misses me, I said, a playful smile on my face. The car soon stopped at the Jiu family's villa. I got out and walked straight to the house. When I opened the door, a group of servants was already waiting. When they saw me, their voices were synchronized and their movements were uniform. Welcome home, young master. I smiled helplessly. Uncle Lai pushed my suitcases over and the servants took them upstairs. Seeing my reaction, Uncle Lai chuckled. The master and madam like to have a sense of ceremony. When they heard the young master was coming home, they had them practice the welcome ceremony all night. They should all be in the living room waiting for you now. I nodded. Although the scene was a bit over the top, I didn't say anything to spoil the mood. I went straight to the living room. As expected, the room was filled with people. My parents, my uncle, and my aunt. I greeted them one by one and sat down next to my parents. Seeing their concerned looks, the calmness I had maintained was suddenly broken. An inexplicable feeling of grievance welled up in my heart. I had been pampered by my elders since I was a child, and had never been wronged. Not until I went to Haicheng to gain experience in the world, hiding my identity, and met Ye Wanshuang. I had given my heart to him during our 5 years together. I truly believed that we would spend the rest of our lives together. But in the end, I almost became his clueless secret lover. All my sincerity was for nothing. My mother saw the sadness in my heart and patted my shoulder. What's in the past is in the past. We are not afraid of making mistakes. The worst case scenario is that you start over. We have more than enough room for mistakes. My mood finally eased after hearing my parents' comforting words. Seeing this, the others quickly changed the subject and took out the gifts they had prepared long ago. It was then that I realized what my mother had told me on the phone before was not an exaggeration at all. In fact, it was quite understated. On top of a stack of thick property deeds was a long chain of keys. The most eye-catching gift was a diamond watch in the center, made of gold and diamonds. Each diamond was enormous, revealing the watch's extraordinary value. But they still seemed to think it wasn't enough, trying to fill the table in front of me with gifts. Just as I was about to say it wasn't necessary, my aunt suddenly slapped the table, her eyes lighting up. Xinghe, you just broke up, didn't you? A friend of mine has a daughter who just returned to the country. My friend has been worried for a long time about her not having a boyfriend. Why don't you two meet? Just as friends. I was stunned and quickly waved my hand, saying it wasn't necessary. But my aunt ignored me and took out her phone, sending me her contact information. I met that girl before she went abroad. She's very beautiful. Even if there's no romantic spark, it's good to be friends. Seeing their insistence, I finally agreed to my aunt's suggestion. What I didn't expect was that when I clicked on the contact she had sent me, I found out I already had that person's contact. I clicked on it. There was no name, just a pure black profile picture with a crescent moon. I was stunned. I thought for a long time but couldn't remember when I had added this person. I didn't ask. I just turned off my phone. All the answers would be revealed when we met. While I was preparing for this blind date, Ye Wanshuang finally came home. It was getting late, and the lights in the villa weren't on. He didn't see the note on the door. She entered the password as usual, but when she went to push the door open, she found it wouldn't open. Confused, he looked up and saw the note. Since this will be Mr. Zhang's home from now on, it's better to set the password to his birthday. Mr. Zhang's home? Zhang Yubai? Her heart skipped a beat. Had he found out something? But I had only met Zhang Yubai once, and there was no way anyone else could have told me about his impending marriage. Where could he have found out? Hesitantly, Ye Wanshuang entered Zhang Yubai's birthday. The villa door opened. She turned on the lights. The villa was empty. He subconsciously called out, "Xinghe," but her voice just echoed through the house, and no one answered. It was then that she suddenly remembered that I had gone to Hucheng a couple of days ago. I rarely left her for so long. Most of the time, I was the one waiting for her to come home. In fact, ever since we moved in together, with the exception of this time, I had always been at home waiting for her. A sense of unease rose in his heart. He suddenly felt a void. Was I serious? But then he shook the thought off. How could that be? Jiu Xinghe loved him so much. It must be that I was just overthinking because he had spent less time with me lately. It was pure coincidence that I had guessed her relationship with Jiang Yubai, but she knew that he would come back to her eventually. All he had to do was coax me a little. With this in mind, he massaged his temples and walked into the living room. He thought he should call me and ask when I was coming back and have a good talk with me. But as she entered the living room, he saw a stack of papers on the table. He was immediately drawn to them. Yi Wanchuang walked faster and sat down on the sofa, picking up the stack. She felt a faint sense of anticipation. Is this something from Xing? Did he leave it for me to see? He told himself I was just acting out. There was no way I would actually leave him. A faint smile formed on his lips, but it froze as he read the words on the paper. The top sheet only had one line of handwritten words. Nothing else. Yi Wanchuang instantly recognized my handwriting. The words looked beautiful on the paper, but what they said was a blow to his heart. Yi Wanchuang, happy wedding. We are over. She felt as if his ears were ringing, and his mind went blank. She reread it several times, finally confirming she hadn't read it wrong. He had written happy wedding and we are over. She didn't want him anymore. It had to be a joke, right? How could I not want him? She instinctively tore the page off, crumpled it up, and threw it away. As she did so, the contents of the second page were revealed. They were screenshots of a conversation. The chat logs were from the day we added each other as friends. I hadn't saved a contact name, so he only saw the person's profile picture and name. They looked familiar. He had that person as a friend, too. Jiang Yubai. The first message was from Jiang Yubai, half a month ago. He turned the pages, and his heart sank deeper and deeper. I heard you're the pretty boy Wanchuang is keeping on the side. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jiang Yubai, and I'm his fiancé. You'd better be smart and leave now. Otherwise, when Wanchuang and I get married, you'll be kicked out of the villa, and it won't be pretty. All it takes is one word from me, and Wanchuang will come find me. We're meeting our parents tomorrow. Once we're really married, what will you be? A secret lover? What if she loves you? Now she's even kissed me. How long do you think it will be before we're in bed? In between the messages, there were a few photos and a video. There were pictures of them trying on wedding outfits, choosing diamond rings, and picking out a wedding venue. The video was a screen capture of a moment in the video. It was the most important shot in the entire video, the one Jiang Yubai wanted me to see the most. It was a shot of him and Jiang Yubai kissing in front of both their families and a group of friends. The tension in her mind snapped. An unspoken panic washed over him. Her face turned pale, but he kept muttering, I don't believe it. She stood up and ran toward the bedroom. Her legs felt weak and he missed a step on the stairs. With a loud thud, she tumbled down the stairs. The sharp pain brought her back to her senses. She gritted his teeth, held onto the railing, and stood up again, limping back upstairs. This time, perhaps because she was going slower, he didn't fall. She finally made it to the bedroom. When he looked around, he saw that the room only contained his things. All of my belongings had disappeared. Even the picture frames on both nightstands, which once held our photos, were now empty. The lonely frames were all that remained. Yi Wanchuang seemed to realize something, and his eyes filled with panic again. She pulled open the closet and then the drawers. After his things were gone, the place felt empty. She searched the bedroom, the bathroom, the study, everywhere that could possibly have something related to me, but there was nothing. It was then that she finally understood why I had suddenly decided to do a big cleanup and thrown away all our couple items. I was so heartless, I didn't leave him a single memory. The unease in his heart was about to become a palpable dread, but she still couldn't believe it. They had been together for 5 years. I had loved him so much. How could I be so cruel and just leave him? She couldn't trust what she was seeing. All she could think about was finding me and asking for an explanation. He didn't even know what he was doing. When she came to, she was back in the living room, and a long ringtone was coming from his phone. After a long while, the person on the other end finally answered. It was late, and I seemed to have been woken up from sleep. I didn't even check the caller ID. My voice was still hazy with sleep. Hello. Xing'e, it's me, he said with difficulty, afraid I would hang up on him. Where are you? I want to see you. And where are our photos? The moment she spoke, I was wide awake. I looked at my phone and saw the name Wanchuang on the screen. I sighed. I had forgotten to block her. While I was silent, Yi Wanchuang, undeterred, kept calling my name. A sense of annoyance rose in my heart. Ms. Yi, you're about to get married. You should know how to avoid suspicion. I figured Mr. Zhang wouldn't be happy to see those photos when he moves in, so I burned them. As for meeting up, I don't think that's necessary. You're about to marry someone else. Why would you want to meet your ex-boyfriend? When she heard that I had burned our photo, she felt her heart ache. What hurt her more was my decisive rejection. Xingye, I never agreed to break up. It's not what you think between Zhang Yubai and me. You're the only person I truly love. How can you just abandon me like this? By the end of her sentence, I could hear him choking up. It made me fall silent. I rarely saw her cry. In our 5 years together, this was only the second time I'd seen him cry. The first time was after our car accident. Even though he was the one who was more seriously injured, he sobbed uncontrollably when he saw the minor wounds on my body. He couldn't tell she was a ruthless businessman. If a business partner had happened to walk by and see her like that, they would have been shocked. This was the second time. I had never denied her love for me in the past. But it was precisely because I had seen how much he loved me that I could keenly sense his heart shifting when he used the excuse of family pressure to agree to the arranged marriage with Zhang Yubai. He might still have loved me very much, but I was no longer the only person she loved, so I became the person he chose to sacrifice after weighing his options. Whether it was her decision to secretly keep me as a lover or his subconscious decision to save Zhang Yubai during the car accident, I was no longer his first choice. So even though I heard him sobbing and his sadness, my heart remained unmoved. Ye Wanshuang, we simply broke up. A breakup doesn't need mutual consent, and if we're talking about abandoning someone, didn't you abandon our relationship first? How can you say I abandoned you? Now that we've said all this, please understand, we are broken up. Please don't disrupt my life again. With every word I said, Ye Wanshuang's heart ached more. Her lips trembled, and his eyes were full of grief. She had just managed to say my name again when the call was cut off. He was stunned. She tried to call back, but the number was blocked. She tried other ways to contact me, but all his messages came back with a red exclamation point. She slumped onto the sofa, his eyes returning to the stack of papers. He stared at the pages, a mix of sadness and anger rising in his chest. She forcefully swept the stack of papers off the table. The pages fluttered in the air, rustling as they scattered across the table, the sofa, and the floor. Zhang Yubai. It's all Zhang Yubai's fault. If he hadn't told Ji Yuxing about this, he wouldn't have left so resolutely. The last page landed right in front of her. On it was the exact message Zhang Yubai had sent me. What if he loves you? Now he's even kissed me. How long do you think it will be before we're in bed? Her gaze was fixed on the words. After a long while, he let out a cold laugh. A sinister glint flashed in his eyes, which had been as still as a pond. Zhang Yubai, I told you long ago that the only person I love is Xingye. Who gave you the courage to mess with him? Since you want to get married so badly, how about I give you a big wedding gift? I was completely unaware of Ye Wanshuang's thoughts. My face was expressionless as I blocked his number and every other contact method he had. Then I put my phone back. I fell into a deep sleep, one of the most peaceful I'd had in a long time. The next day was my first day at the Shangqi group. As the new CEO, I got up very early. I was confident I could hold my own in this position, but I didn't want to give anyone a reason to gossip on my first day. The Shangqi Group was a family business of the GU family, with a history of over 100 years and a wide range of businesses. Before I even started, the news of a young, handsome CEO parachuting into the Shangqi Group spread throughout the entire industry. At the same time, Ye Wanshuang was drinking alone with his friends at the largest club in Haicheng. No one took seriously the news that Ji Yuxingye had gotten angry and broken up with Ye Wanshuang after hearing about his marriage. They thought I just couldn't accept that I would have to be with him without a title, and had broken up with him in a fit of pique. He even quit his job a while ago. Don't worry, once he runs out of money, he'll come back. Otherwise, who's going to pay for his gambling father and sick mother? I've seen plenty of guys like him. He just wanted to climb the social ladder. Now that his dream is shattered, it's normal for him to not be able to accept it. You can just coax him back later. Yeah, with his background, how could he ever be your husband? He was just delusional. The life he lived with you was a life he could never have dreamed of before. Their taunts came one after another, and Ye Wanshuang, who had been drinking in silence, found their words particularly grating. Her face was gloomy. She suddenly slammed the wine glass in his hand onto the table. Crack! The sound of breaking glass and the shattering shards made the noisy room quiet down. Then his cold voice, full of frost, rang out, "Have you said enough?" Everyone stared at her, stunned. No one understood why he was so angry. Her words sounded like he was defending me, but it wasn't the first time they had said such things to him, even to her face. Ye Wanchuang had never said anything before. What was different now? Finally, Liu Changqian, who was sitting closest to him, frowned and broke the silence. Her words still showed she wasn't taking his anger seriously, thinking he was just annoyed because they were too loud. She let out a small laugh, her eyes full of teasing. "What's wrong, Wanchuang? Are you still in a bad mood? We know you care about him. Don't worry, there's no way he can truly leave his cash cow. I'll bet you that in less than 2 weeks, he'll come begging to you, and when he does, you'll be able to make him do anything you want." The moment her words fell, she looked up at Liu Qiangqian, her eyes sharp and her voice cold. "Apologize." Liu Qiangqian was stunned. She didn't understand what he meant. Her voice rang out again. "Apologize to him." It was only then that Liu Qiangqian finally understood. She was genuinely angry at them for putting me down. "Wanchuang, why are you so upset? And we weren't wrong. A poor guy like him is only with you for your money. You never argued with us before when we said this." Hearing Liu Qiangqian's words, Ye Wanchuang was startled. The rage in his eyes faded, replaced by confusion. Had they really said this many times before? Had she always just let it slide? She searched her memory, trying to find proof that he had contradicted them, only to find that she was right. They had belittled me many times before, and whether I was present or not, he had always chosen to let it happen, only stopping them when they said it directly to my face. But was that truly an intervention? It was just him pretending for my benefit. His silent acceptance was what he truly felt. Thinking this, he felt a sudden wave of self-loathing and didn't know what to say. He could only pour himself another drink and keep drinking, but at the same time a sense of hope rose in his heart. Yes, he still has a gambling father and a sick mother, and now he has no job. Maybe in a while, he really will come back to me. At this point, the others had changed the subject. "I heard that the Shengqi group just got a new CEO. Have you heard anything?" "I heard it's the young master of the GU family. There hasn't been much news about him in recent years because he was training himself abroad. Now that he's back, they immediately put him in charge of the Shengqi group. He's the only son, so all the family businesses will eventually be his. Even though he's a new CEO, he was trained for the job from a young age." Ye Wanchuang wasn't interested in the topic and didn't join the conversation. He just sat alone in the corner, with more and more empty bottles piling up in front of him. She hadn't been listening carefully, so she didn't hear them say that the GU family's young master had been training abroad and had just come home. She didn't consider that the things I had written in the note I left him might have been true. When the party ended, it was late at night. Ye Wanchuang had drunk too much, and his steps were unsteady. Liu Changqian and the others didn't feel comfortable letting her go home alone, so they called Jiang Yubai. By the time he arrived, only Liu Changqian was left. She handed Ye Wanchuang over to him. "I'll leave Wanchuang to you. Please take good care of her." With a knowing look, she grabbed her car keys and left the room, leaving the passed-out Ye Wanchuang and Jiang Yubai alone. Jiang Yubai didn't take him back to the Ye family villa. He took him to his own. He finally got him into the bedroom and put him on the soft bed. He carefully wiped his face, then gently lay down beside him. "Wanchuang, we're going to get married anyway. It's just happening a little sooner than expected." The man next to him, whether he heard him or not, instinctively pulled her into his arms, burying his head in Jiang Yubai's neck. His hot breath on Jiang Yubai's skin made his body tremble. The temperature in the room seemed to be rising with the intimate atmosphere. But the next moment, the name he spoke made Jiang Yubai's heart, which was about to leap out of his chest, return to its place. "Xingye." He didn't move again, just held her tightly, as if I would disappear if he let go. Jiang Yubai lay in his arms, not moving, a sinister look in his eyes. "Ji-yu Xinghe, always Ji-yu Xinghe. I wish he would just disappear from this world." The next evening, Ye Wanchuang woke up from his hangover with a splitting headache. He wanted to rub his head, but he suddenly realized someone was in his arms. She looked down and saw the top of a head with a perfectly coiffed haircut. Before her brain could register the name, she called out, "Xingye!" But as soon as the word left his mouth, she knew something was wrong. A sense of foreboding rose in his heart. He pushed the person away with all his might. Jiang Yubai, who had been sleeping soundly, fell off the bed with a thud and woke up. He looked up and saw Ye Wanchuang's dark expression. "What are you doing here?" His voice was cold and emotionless, making Jiang Yubai feel wronged. His mouth trembled and his eyes welled up with tears. The tears in his eyes looked especially pitiful, ready to fall at any moment. If he had been in front of someone else, they might have softened at his expression. Or, if he had been in front of the Yuan Shuang from before we broke up, he might not have been so cold. But the person in front of him now was the Yuan Shuang who had witnessed Zhang Yubai's taunts and was the reason I had left him. Zhang Yubai saw that he was still unmoved, and his face was even darker. He quickly suppressed his resentment and explained, "You were drunk last night, and you wouldn't let me go to your villa, so I had to bring you to my place." Hearing this, Ye Wanquang realized she had been so angry, she hadn't noticed this wasn't his room. Her expression softened slightly, but the guard in her eyes didn't lessen. "Then why were you sleeping with me?" As soon as she said that, he saw a blush creep onto Jiang Yubai's face. "I was going to leave after I settled you in, but you wouldn't let me go. The way he spoke, full of feigned coyness, made Ye Wanquang's eyes turn cold. It was hard to say whether he believed him or not. Zhang Yubai just saw him get up abruptly and leave the room, his last words to him ringing in his ears. "Zhang Yubai, stop with your little games. We're only getting married because you're obedient and easy for my parents to handle. If it happens again, I don't mind finding someone else." Zhang Yubai's face was pale, and he gritted his teeth as he watched him leave. Hucheng Jiyu family. I looked at another unknown number on my phone and felt a wave of annoyance. Yi Wanshuang was like a stubborn piece of gum I couldn't get rid of. After I blocked her, she was quiet for a while, but recently, he started calling me again, using a different number every time I blocked him. I hung up and blocked the number again, and the ringing finally stopped. I let out a sigh of relief, turned my phone to silent, and placed it face down on the table. Now I finally had time to focus on the file in front of me. This was the first major project I had taken on since I came to Shangqi. If I could successfully complete this project, I would secure my position among the top executives at Shangqi. I took on the project without hesitation, but it was only after I got the file that I found out Ye Wanquang had also suddenly joined the bidding. I wasn't afraid to go head-to-head with her. I just didn't understand his motive. The root of the Yeshi group was in Haicheng. Why was he suddenly meddling in a project in Hucheng? Is he doing this for me? The thought made me laugh. Yi Wanshuang, a woman who's preparing for a wedding with one person while stringing along another, doesn't seem to understand how heartless his actions are. She had the nerve to say that his relationship with Zhang Yubai wasn't what I thought it was. But even if he didn't truly love Zhang Yubai, so what? Zhang Yubai was still the person he had willingly chosen to marry. Even if I weren't the son of the richest man, he had no right to demote me from being his official boyfriend to his secret lover. This bidding war was unusually fierce. Not only were Shangqi and Yeshi participating, but also most of the top-tier wealthy families in Hucheng. Of course, there were many people like Yuan Shuang who had come from other cities. Because there were so many people, the organizers held a banquet, inviting all the companies involved in the bidding. When my aunt gave me the invitation, she winked at me mysteriously. I looked at her knowing expression, thinking I had missed some important information. "Auntie, is there something else?" I asked, confused. My aunt rolled her eyes at me. Seeing that I had apparently forgotten what we had agreed upon a few days ago, she stopped being coy and patted my shoulder heavily. "Didn't I mention a while ago that I wanted you to meet my friend's daughter? The girl was so busy she couldn't find the time. But what a coincidence. She's also going to this bidding event. You can go together." I was speechless when I heard it was a blind date. The venue for this meeting made it even more ridiculous. "Auntie," I said, a look of exasperation on my face, "we're all going to be competitors. This is the first time I've ever heard of a blind date at a bidding event." I gave her a thumbs up. My aunt didn't care. "So what? You can be opponents on the field, but not off of it. Besides, if you two meet beforehand, a little bit of a honey trap isn't a bad thing, is it?" I heard that even though the girl has never been in a relationship, she once liked a boy. And I heard he was just like you. I froze. It suddenly occurred to me that I had forgotten to chat with the person since I had discovered we were already friends. It had been a while, and I had completely forgotten about the blind date. My aunt's words finally reminded me the person she liked was just like me, and we were already friends? Did this girl add me because of that? I frowned, and my impression of her immediately dropped. It seemed she wasn't so much uninterested in a boyfriend as she was unable to get over a previous crush. If I went through with this, wouldn't I just be a rebound? I didn't mention it to my aunt. She had no idea about any of this. I just smiled and took the invitation, no longer in the mood for the meeting my aunt had arranged. But I never thought that my silence, which I intended as a polite refusal, was interpreted by my aunt as silent consent. On the day of the bidding event, she had a car waiting for me outside the villa. "Hello, Mr. Gu." A woman in a small suit dress greeted me. I stood in front of her, not moving. "I don't believe I know your name," I said calmly. She froze, her eyes looking down for a moment before she answered. "My last name is Song Ruan." Once she answered, I didn't prolong the silence. When she gestured for me to get in the car again, I got in the passenger seat. After the door closed, I was silent. I didn't know if I was mad or what, but I just stared out the window, quietly thinking about the name Song Ruan. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but I couldn't place it. I glanced over at her. She was focused on driving. I wanted to say something, but I didn't know how to start. After a long moment of hesitation, I still didn't say anything. The car arrived at the banquet hall. Song Ruan and I got out. I walked ahead, intending to go straight inside, but after a few steps, I realized she was still standing behind me. I turned around and saw her standing there, looking a bit dazed. "What's wrong?" I asked. She pursed her lips and looked at me. Everyone else enters with their partner, arm in arm. For some reason, there was no emotion on her face, but I could somehow see a hint of grievance. I coughed a little helpless and walked back. I took her arm and we walked toward the banquet hall together. As we approached the door, I couldn't help but ask, "Did we know each other before?" The moment I asked the question, a flicker of disappointment passed through her eyes. He really didn't remember her at all. Just as I thought she wouldn't answer, she took a deep breath, breaking the silence. We were high school classmates, but I was always the one who sat in the corner. She was quiet and reclusive, always the one who was overlooked. Even her parents were too busy to pay attention to her. At that time, she was so immersed in her own world that she was indifferent to anyone who tried to talk to her. Even though she was not plain, no one ever remembered her. Just like me, who was now next to her. She had liked me for a long time, ever since the first time I had approached her. Unlike other students, who just said a perfunctory hello and never spoke to her again, I didn't overlook her because of her silence. No matter the question or the situation, I always asked for the opinions of every student, including her. I became the person who talked to her the most in her life, the only light in her world. But later, she regretted her cowardice and silence countless times. She only managed to get my contact information through a graduation yearbook. She never once initiated a conversation with me because she always felt that she was too ordinary for me. Later, she went abroad to study and get therapy. When she finally worked up the courage to ask about me, she found out I was in a relationship. At that time, she just thought that as long as I was happy, she would be content to be a passerby in my life. She had almost given up when she found out I had broken up with my girlfriend, so she came back. It was only after hearing her explanation that I finally found some fragmented memories of her in the depths of my mind. But looking at the woman in front of me, who could handle herself so well at a business banquet, I was still in disbelief. "It's only been a few years, but you've changed so much. You're even more beautiful," I said. Hearing my last words, her ears turned slightly red. The banquet hall was lively. There were many people there for the bidding. Not long after we entered, another man and woman walked in. I turned to look at the entrance out of habit, only to be met with a familiar gaze. "Singay!" they both exclaimed at the same time, drawing the attention of everyone in the room. All eyes turned to the entrance. I just frowned. The Yi and Jiang families were two of the most prominent families in Haicheng. Yi Wanshuang and Jiang Yubai were acting so childishly at a banquet in Hucheng. There was no sense of class or manners. I didn't want to be associated with them. I turned and quickened my pace, pulling Song Ruan with me. Yi Wanshuang was first surprised to see me here, but then he saw me walking away with a woman on my arm. She became furious and didn't even care that Jiang Yubai was with her. She ran after me, shouting, "Xing'e, who is that? Why are you with her?" When Jiang Yubai caught up, he heard Yi Wanshuang's furious question. He said nothing, but his eyes darted back and forth between us. He had a mocking look on his face. What else could it be? He must have found someone else to climb on after you broke up with him. How else could he get into a bidding banquet with his background? He said it with such certainty, completely missing Ye Wanchuang's dark expression and the strange looks from the people around us. The Jiyu family was the richest family in Hucheng. As the only son of the richest man, I didn't need to cling to anyone to get into this banquet. These two were fools. If even the richest man's son had to climb to get in, who else would have a chance? But no one said anything, wanting to watch the show. My eyebrows were furrowed in annoyance. Song Ruanruan's face had already turned cold. She reached out and grabbed Ye Wanchuang's wrist. The next moment, Ye Wanchuang felt a sharp pain. She was so surprised that he almost cried out. Seeing that she still wouldn't let go of my arm, Song Ruanruan's voice came out, devoid of emotion. "Let go." The coldness in her voice made Ye Wanchuang shiver. He looked up at me, and his face turned even uglier. Zhang Yubai felt bad for her and immediately pointed at Song Ruanruan's nose. "Do you know who we are? How dare you treat us like this? I'll make sure you regret it." Although Ye Wanchuang didn't say anything, the dark look in her eyes and the fact that she didn't try to stop Zhang Yubai told me he agreed with him. I let out a sarcastic laugh. I patted Song Ruanruan's hand, signaling her to let go. Although she was reluctant, she did as I said after I nodded. Seeing our reaction, Ye Wanchuang's expression improved. Zhang Yubai also thought we were scared and had backed down. He put on a tender expression and was about to speak, but I took off the brooch I was wearing and immediately jabbed his hand with it. Ye Wanchuang was certain I wouldn't really hurt her. After all, I loved her so much. I would never have the heart to hurt her. I was probably just trying to scare him. "Xingye, I know," but before she could finish, the brooch pierced her hand. The sudden pain made him lose his grip on me. I took a step back, dodging Zhang Yubai's incoming slap. A loud smack echoed as a hand hit him squarely on the face. A red mark appeared on his cheek. He was completely shocked. He couldn't believe I had hit him. "Ji Uxing, you." Unlike his hysterical rage, my expression was calm, as if I had just said hello. I handed Song Ruanruan a tissue, then calmly took another one and wiped my wrist. I looked at him condescendingly, a hint of mockery in my eyes. "Are you too important?" My mockery made Ye Wanchuang's eyes turn red with rage, but her anger cooled as I spoke my next words. "Two fools who came to a bidding event and don't even know who their opponent is." Bidding opponent? Ye Wanchuang and Zhang Yubai recalled the information they had. They took another look at me and Song Ruanruan. They finally pieced it together. Song Ruanruan was the daughter of the Song family, the second richest family in Hucheng. Although the Ye and Zhang families were top tier in Haicheng, they were nothing compared to the Jiyu and Song families. At this point, Song Ruanruan, who had been silent after the initial let go, spoke again. "Instead of asking if I know who you are, why don't you ask the person next to you who we are?" The word "we" made Ye Wanchuang and Zhang Yubai freeze. So she meant that I was also involved in the bidding? Everyone else involved was a CEO of a company, so the only one left was the son of the richest man in Hucheng, young Master Jiyu. The realization made their faces turn pale. They looked around and saw that everyone else was watching the show. It was at this moment that they realized they were the clowns being watched. Ye Wanchuang's face alternated between red and pale. She didn't even care about the bidding anymore. She hurried out of the banquet hall in a panic. Zhang Yubai shot me a hateful look and followed him out. I saw his hateful gaze, but I didn't care. Zhang Yubai wasn't the first person to hate me. His only support was the Zhang family and the hollow marriage alliance with Ye Wanchuang. Ye Wanchuang had agreed to marry Zhang Yubai when he still loved me. When Zhang Yubai's value to him was gone, he would abandon him for someone else. As for the Zhang family, I didn't even have to do anything. The moment they found out Zhang Yubai had offended the Jiyu family, they would be the first to abandon him. But the most important thing for me at the moment was the bidding. Just as the farce came to an end, the organizers came on stage. They glanced at the two people who had fled in a panic and said nothing. They simply crossed them off their mental list. The bidding was intense, but in the end, I won the project. Song Ruanruan drove me back. This time, she was the one to break the silence. "Do you still like her?" she asked abruptly. I was stunned for a moment before I realized who she was talking about. I looked at her, speechless. "Where did you get that idea?" "I thought you agreed to the blind date because you knew she would be here. You were angry at her." My attitude toward her at the beginning was indeed not friendly, but then my attitude toward him changed, and she couldn't help but wonder. Since I didn't remember her and was a little hesitant about the blind date, why did I agree to it? My aunt suggested it, so I decided to come. But I don't have a habit of being with one person while my heart is with another. I want my partner to be faithful, and I hold myself to the same standard. The things that happened at the banquet seemed to have brought us closer. I was very patient with her questions. We talked casually, and the car soon stopped in front of the GU family's villa. I waved goodbye and walked toward the house. Just as I was about to enter, I stopped and turned around. Her car was still there, showing no signs of leaving. I walked back to her. The car window rolled down. She blinked at me, her eyes filled with confusion. "Mr. GU, is there something else?" "We're classmates. There's no need to be so formal. You can call me Shinge from now on," I said with a smile, but I only agreed to the blind date because of my aunt. "I'm not ready for a new relationship right now, so let's just be friends for now." I waved goodbye again, just like a normal friend. "Drive safe on your way home." Watching my figure disappear into the villa, she smiled faintly. Song Ruan had been waiting for so many years. She didn't mind waiting a little longer. Just as I said, we would be friends for now. Besides, moving from a stranger to a friend was enough for her. That night, unlike the two people in Haicheng who were tossing and turning, Song Ruan and I slept very well. The next morning, I was woken up by my phone constantly ringing. I groggily opened my eyes and saw that my social media accounts were being bombarded. The notifications kept going off. I looked at them, and they were all vicious insults. At that moment, a Haicheng number called. I answered and realized it was one of my friends from my time there. "Shinge, have you seen all the stuff online? Those netizens are so gullible. How can they believe a rumor that you, the son of the richest man, are a homewrecker? You need to clarify everything and make those people pay." He spoke so fast he couldn't even catch his breath. His panicked breathing showed just how worried he was. His explanation made me realize what was going on. After Jiang Yubai returned to Haicheng, he was still furious about what happened at the banquet. He used his engagement with Ye Wanshuang as leverage to turn things around, saying that I had interfered in their relationship. He even released evidence of Ye Wanshuang and I living together after they were engaged. At first, netizens didn't believe that the son of the richest man would be a homewrecker, but then Jiang Yubai released more evidence, and Ye Wanshuang's friends all came forward to corroborate his story. All of a sudden, netizens who had heard the rumors started believing it. They found my social media account and began to spam me. "Your family is so rich. Hasn't anyone taught you to have morals and not break up someone's family? You're the son of the richest man? That's just a moral decay. You should be ashamed. We're boycotting you." Amidst the insults, there were also people who were taking advantage of the situation, finding my account and posting lewd, vulgar, and disgusting comments. Of course, there were some rational people who said they should wait for my response and not believe a one-sided story. But those comments were also flooded with insults. "I'll handle it, don't worry. The legal team at Shengqi isn't a joke." He dared to spread rumors. He must be ready for the consequences. My confident tone finally calmed my friend down. He told me to take care of myself and then hung up. After the call ended, I went back to the website to see how far things had escalated. It would be a lie to say I wasn't angry when I saw the malicious insults, but I was also a little confused. They used to look down on me because they thought I was poor and not worthy of Ye Wanshuang. Now even the netizens know I'm the son of the richest man. Where did they get the audacity to team up with Jiang Yubai and smear my name? My face turned cold. I took a screenshot of every single malicious comment. Just then, my phone rang again. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment, but still answered. "Shinge, are you okay? Don't worry about what they're saying online. I know you didn't do any of that, and you don't have to be angry about it. I'm sure your parents are already taking care of it. If there's anything you need, you can come to me." I could hear the gentleness and urgency in Song Ruan's voice. The anger in my heart vanished. I laughed softly. "It's okay. I'm not that fragile. It's just a rumor. I can handle it myself." Seeing that my emotions were stable, she finally relaxed. She didn't want to hang up, but she didn't know what else to say. A long silence fell between us. In the quiet, I felt like I could hear her light breathing through the phone. Finally, I broke the silence. "Song Ruan, thank you. I won't let these baseless rumors get to me, but thank you for your concern." I added the last part in my head before I quickly hung up. On the other end of the line, Song Ruan held her phone, which had already hung up. She wished time could have stopped at that moment. Just listening to each other's breathing on opposite ends of the phone was enough for her. When my parents first heard about me being cyberbullied, they were so angry they almost went and found Ye Wanshuang, Jiang Yubai, and all their friends themselves. A scumbag man and a cruel woman. They're so arrogant. How dare they smear my son's name? They're like newborn calves who aren't afraid of tigers. They dare to mess with my GU family. My mother rolled her eyes at my father. What, newborn calves? They're just a couple of beasts. I finally managed to calm them down. It's okay, Mom and Dad, don't worry. I won't let them bully me. They dared to spread rumors, so they should be prepared to pay the price. In the Xiang family home in Haicheng, Ye Wanshuang's face was dark as he watched Jiang Yubai crying. His eyes were filled with disgust. Haven't I told you to stop with your little games? I was going to keep you around because you were useful, but you're so bold that you contacted Liu Qingqian and them to smear Xingge's name. It seems I've been too kind to you. He grabbed Jiang Yubai's chin and forced him to look up. He shook his head repeatedly, but it didn't get him any pity. Wanshuang, that loser. He's the son of the richest man, but he lied to you for 5 years about being poor. Now we've offended him. Do you really think he still has feelings for you? Instead of waiting for him to get revenge, why don't we team up and completely crush the GU family? Hearing this, Ye Wanshuang's grip on Jiang Yubai loosened. He's right, he's the son of the richest man, but he lied to me for 5 years. If I had known that, why would I have married someone else? I didn't care about the fake identity he made up, and I was willing to keep him around. But what did he do? He used this opportunity to dump me, and made me suffer such a big loss. So why should I protect his high and mighty status? I'll bring him down, and when he has nowhere to go, he'll have to come back to me. When he left, he threw away and burned everything related to us. As long as we stick to our story, he'll have no choice but to be a homewrecker. Ye Wanshuang let go of Jiang Yubai's chin and looked at him with a hint of satisfaction. Then you'd better work hard and completely bring him down from his position as the richest man's son. She didn't stay and turned to leave. The roar of the car engine grew fainter, and the hatred in Jiang Yubai's eyes grew darker. He hadn't acted on impulse. Ever since he came back from Hucheng and found out he had messed up the bidding and offended the son of the richest man, the Jiang family had abandoned him. He had hoped to gain a foothold in the Jiang family through his marriage to Ye Wanshuang. But as soon as he brought it up, his parents slapped him. How dare you bring up the marriage with Ye Wanshuang? He came to us as soon as he got back and broke off the engagement. You can't even hold on to a woman. Tell me, what good are you? It was then that Jiang Yubai realized everyone had abandoned him. But why? Jiu Xingge? Because of you, I've been abandoned by the Jiang family and by Ye Wanshuang. How can you still look down on me from your high horse? He put all his anger on me. He teamed up with Liu Tianqian and Ye Wanshuang and decided to make a last-ditch effort. They naively believed that as long as they erased all evidence of our past, even if I came forward with evidence of our 5-year relationship, they could create a fake timeline to confuse the public. But I released 2 surveillance videos and the chat logs of Jiang Yubai's taunts. One video was from a month ago when they were talking in French in front of me. Although the audio was a bit distorted, the meaning was clear. Ye Wanshuang had gotten engaged to someone else behind my back and was trying to keep me as his lover. The other video was of my confrontation with Jiang Yubai outside the restroom. You could clearly hear that when I said I had been with Ye Wanshuang for 5 years and that if anyone was a homewrecker, it was Jiang Yubai, he didn't refute it. If I were the homewrecker, with his temper, he would have argued, and his later boast to my face, they weren't what someone who had been wronged would say. It was more like what someone who knew they were in the wrong but had the audacity to call the person who was loved a homewrecker. The public opinion immediately turned. The more they had insulted me, the more they were now insulted. While the so-called justice warriors were going crazy and cursing Ye Wanshuang and Jiang Yubai on their social media accounts, I filed a lawsuit. I sued everyone who had left a lot of negative comments, those who had taken advantage of the situation to smear my name, and Ye Wanshuang's friends. I handed the matter over to the legal team at Shengqi. When I logged into my social media accounts again, the comments were much cleaner. The occasional troll was quickly silenced. When their ban was over, they would try to say something crazy, only to find a court summons in their notifications. They finally gave up. As for the people who had tried to defend me, I posted a message to them. The net of justice may be wide, but it lets nothing escape. Only those with a guilty conscience fear rumors. I will use the law to protect my rights. Zhang Yubai was completely abandoned. I didn't pay much attention to what happened afterward. I believed that Shang-Chi's legal team would make them pay the price. I was only a little surprised to hear that on the day he was sued, Zhang Yubai couldn't even find a lawyer willing to represent him. If Zhang Yubai hadn't been so reckless and provoked me, he could have maintained a peaceful relationship with Ye Wanshuang and been just another couple in a wealthy family. But he was greedy. When I was still with Ye Wanshuang, he wanted to chase me away. When I left, he blamed all his grievances on me and wanted to trample me underfoot. In the end, he got what he deserved. As for Ye Wanshuang's friends, led by Liu Tian-san, they were always so shallow, thinking that background determined everything. They ended up conspiring with Zhang Yubai and were all sued together. What a waste. On the other hand, the core of this whole mess, Ye Wanshuang, never made any public statements. He chose to remain silent, which allowed him to distance himself from the situation. The day the matter came to an end, a representative from the legal department came to me and reported the results. Because their actions were so serious, and they showed no remorse in court, and I refused to settle, they were all sentenced to 2 years in prison. Netizens joked that it was rare to see a group of rich kids crying and begging to be let out of jail. This was probably a once-in-a-lifetime sight. After I heard their sentence, I stopped paying attention. But I never thought that Ye Wanshuang would seek me out again. I was talking with Song Ruan about what to eat after work when the front desk called. "Mr. Ji Yu, Ames Yi wants to see you." I was surprised for a moment. I looked at Song Ruan, who had managed to nearly crush the Yeshi group in just 1 month. She paused for a moment and then nodded. I was curious too. After all we'd been through, why would he come to me now? I knew Ye Wanshuang wasn't doing well, but I was still shocked when I saw him. In just a few months, I almost didn't recognize the person sitting in front of me. She was emaciated, defeated, and looked at least 10 years older. But I was only surprised for a moment. I quickly returned to my detached state. Ye Wanshuang looked at Song Ruan sitting next to me. She didn't seem to expect her to be there, and his breathing hitched. But she knew that he had no power in front of me now. She looked at me pleadingly, begging for a bit of pity. "Xingye, I know I was wrong, but I never lied to you before. I've only ever loved you. Please, for the sake of our past, spare the Yeshi group." She was so humble, a stark contrast to his arrogant demeanor when we were dating. I threw my hands up and shook my head. I pointed to Song Ruan. "I'm not the one trying to crush the Yeshi group. Why don't you beg her?" I smiled, but the warmth didn't reach my eyes. "Besides, Ye Wanshuang, didn't you already squander our past? When you were engaged to someone else behind my back, only planning to keep me as a lover, when you and your friends were freely insulting me in French, and you never once tried to stop them. When Zhang Yubai and your friends were spreading rumors about me, and you were just standing by. Why are you bringing up our past now? Where were those thoughts then?" My words made Ye Wanshuang's face turn ashen. She felt a bitter lump in his throat and had trouble swallowing. "Xingye, I know I was wrong. I apologize. But if this continues, the Yeshi group won't survive." I just shrugged carelessly. "It won't survive? What does that have to do with me? Everyone else has paid for their actions. Why do you think a simple apology from you will let you off the hook? But I never did any of those things to you," she said desperately, trying to defend himself. The fake smile on my face disappeared. "You didn't? You just stood by and watched." "Ye Wanshuang, a bystander like you is the worst. Because of your inaction, your friends treated me so terribly. Because of your silent consent, you gave Zhang Yubai a chance to hurt me over and over again. And now you're saying you didn't do anything? Fine, you didn't do anything, and I haven't tried to crush the Yeshi group. I can't help you with this." I raised my voice. "Linda, show her out." Linda pushed open the office door, a professional smile on her face. "This way, Mr. Ye." She still wanted to say something, but I had already grabbed Song Ruan's hand and walked past him. I was the CEO. It was okay to leave early once in a while. As for the person in the office, Linda would handle it. "So what do you want to eat? Western food or home-style cooking?" "Home-style cooking. I haven't had it in a while." "Okay, home-style cooking it is. I'll listen to you." Song Ruan's face lit up, a stark contrast to her shy and reserved demeanor when we first met. She raised an eyebrow at me. "Why do you listen to me on everything?" I stopped and looked at her with a serious expression that made my heart skip a beat. I was about to change the subject and keep walking, but her voice came from behind me. Because Xinghe, I like you. Her confession was a little sudden, but also a little expected. I stopped and sighed as I turned to look at her. I know you said you're not ready for a new relationship right now. So, when you are, can I be the first person you consider? Her eyes shone like the stars. I looked at the light in her eyes and couldn't bring myself to refuse. I smiled. Since you're so sincere, I suppose I'll reluctantly agree. She smiled back. You didn't reluctantly agree, you agreed because you wanted to. She hugged me. Song Wanruan had waited for so many seasons. She was confident that the next one wouldn't be lonely.